Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Side to Side Sportscast, where it's your boys, Will, Woody, and CJ. And you already know we come to break it down from all sides, the court side, the ring side, the sidelines. And for those sports they play outdoors, we outside, we side to side. That's how we ride. And today, we riding with the Dual Podcast in the building with the Side to Side crew. First introducing to you our main man, Don, the Dual, and also our main man, Rain, the Dual.
Hey, what's
Fellas, welcome to the Side to Side Sportscast, man. We excited to have you on with us to break it on down. What's up, fellas?
What's up, man? Thank you for having us. Thank you for letting us grace your presence, man. I'm hyped.
Hey, man, you gracing our presence, man, and we appreciate it.
Definitely.
We appreciate it.
Thank you guys for joining.
Absolutely. All right. And I just want to take a little second to shout out to Batman on the scene today, right? You know, I heard the movie was fire. I didn't see it yet, but I heard it's a classic. So
yeah, no spoilers.
I plan on seeing that this weekend. What'd you say?
I said no spoilers because I didn't see it either.
You didn't see it either? Oh, I thought that may be why you was repping the Batman. Okay. But Bruce Wayne Woody is in the building. And but we already know him. Fellas, we need to get to know you some. So how about we start with you, Don? You know, tell us a little bit about your sports favorites, you know, your favorite teams, in any sport, your favorite players, you know, what's up?
What's up, man? Hey, appreciate again having us on, man. I'll say this. We're the Dual, Rain and I. Rain's going to jump in a second, introduce himself. But feel free to follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter. That's at Dual Podcast. And you can also search us on Spotify, Apple Music. Show us some love. Let's go ahead and search the Dual Podcast. But gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to be here. And shout outs to James for hopping in our show, which I'm starting to understand. He doesn't go by James around y'all. He goes by Woody. So, hey, appreciate you hopping in the last episode. It was a blast. Yeah, a little bit about myself. I'm part of the Dual, as you can see. We originally went with the Dual Podcast name because we were doing dual sports, football and basketball. But as of January 1st, we said, you know what, man, how can we pivot? How can we be a little bit different? So we're bringing that hoops content, fantasy tips, trade rumors, all that stuff, man. And I'll say this, my squad, my team, Portland Trailblazers. I'm a San Diego kid, so I'm sure y'all wondering why the Blazers. And we'll get into it in a little bit. Rain, I'll kick it off to you, bro.
Yeah, man. Right on, Don. Yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Rain. I'm born and raised in the Bay Area, so I'm all the Bay Area teams. I know we're a hoops podcast, but the Warriors are my team, the Niners are my team. I even go hockey, the Sharks. Anything Bay Area, I always represent it. Anything SoCal, Lakers, Dodgers, don't even want to talk about it. Let's not talk about who won the Super Bowl. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. But yeah, we'll dive in a little bit later. But yeah, all things Bay Area, that's me.
Awesome, man. That's what's up. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, definitely follow the Dual Podcast on social medias. Fire podcast. And let's hear about some of your favorite. You talked about your favorite sports teams, right? Let's talk about some of your favorite players in the league. How about you, Rain?
Yeah, I mean, this is without a doubt easy. It has to be Steph, right? Steph's one of my favorite players in the league. He is the most disrespected superstar that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I don't know. That's just me. I see all the hate coming towards him, and I feel like got to defend him most of the time. Even amongst Warrior fans themselves, but I don't want to go there. I don't want to get people riled up. But yeah, it has to be Steph. I am before also KD before he came to the Warriors. To be honest with y'all, I was a KD fan. So not just because when he came, but even before that. Now I don't know. I
don't know. Brooklyn KD a little different.
Yeah. He's the man is in his own world, but I would say around the league is probably Steph for sure. Other players like Jason Tatum, Luka, John Morant, all the young up and comers. Man, the league is just in good hands. But yeah, Don, go ahead. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, man, I feel that. I feel on a John Morant. I would say right now there is no more exciting athlete in the world than John Morant right now, man. So I'm right there with you. For me, my favorite basketball player, I would say top 3 of all time is Steve Nash. I'm bringing that up because shout outs to Will. I know we're talking a little bit about the Phoenix Suns. Man, that's how I like modeled my hoops game, where I peaked sophomore year because everyone started growing taller than me. You can't tell right now, but I'm on my tippy toes. I'm 5'5" on a good day, bro. So I modeled my game off Steve Nash, pass first, right? Good. So shout out to Steve. Right now, of course, I got to rep the Blazers. So Damian Lillard, which I know is a hot topic we're going to get into. And I was, yes, sir, Dame time. Always Dame time. Check the wrist, bro. But Dame time. Yeah. Overall, favorite player of all time, Rasheed Wallace. Got to go with Sheed.
Okay. Ball, don't lie.
Man, Sheed from Simon Gratz High School, baby. That's our man right there. Love Sheed, man. Sheed is one of my favorite players of all time as well. So that's awesome, man. Hey, just a little tidbit of information. Woody and I were actually hooping together in the summertime, man, and we just needed a point guard because I can't play guard anymore. I'm old and watched up. So, Don, we might have to get you Don the Dimes out there with us, man, since we modeled the game after Steve Nash. And Rain, your name's Rain, man. We can get you on the wing, pass it to you, you know, butter, baby.
I can get some buckets for y'all, yeah, for sure.
Hey, CJ, you can play too, man. I ain't just gonna shout out everybody else on here.
I mean, hey, we have a starting 5, right?
We literally have a starting 5. Yes, we do, man. Let's do it. Podcast hoops. Sportscast versus pod. Let's do it, man. Let's start a league. Let's go.
But any other podcast out there, we challenge you, okay? The side to side dual cast, what we got going on right now. This 5 will take your 5.
Yes.
Any place, any
time. Let's do it. But wait, here's the kicker. Hey, CJ, how tall are you?
6 feet.
All right. Nobody can be taller than 6'1". I'm 6'1", right? This is a 6'1" and under league. All right.
You're not gonna have any problems.
Hey, Craig Smith, Rhino, we don't want to see you signing up for this league, man. We got nothing for you. But anybody that's 6'1" and under can get it. Let's do it. Yeah. All right. Cool. Now, let's talk about the Portland Trailblazers, man. You got the Blazers hat on, Don. You represented my man Rasheed Wallace. Like that struck a hard chord with me. Because that's literally one of my favorite players of all time. I got to see Sheed play in high school, growing up in Philly. I'm just a big Rasheed Wallace fan. And I'm back when Allen Iverson played for the Sixers. I always wanted the Sixers to acquire Sheed, but Detroit made the right move. But I really think Sheed had probably maybe some of his best year. Besides, he won a championship in Detroit, but in Portland, right? So let's talk about the state of the Portland Trailblazers right now, man. You tell us, what do you think about the squad?
Yes, sir. That's a good question, bro. And I'll say this. I'm rocking the hat, but it's my first time in like 3 months because we have nothing to cheer about, man. It's like no bright side, nothing. I'm still waiting on my Josh Hart jersey. No, but on the real, I've been saying this as a Portland Trailblazer fan, knowing our team peaked in 2019 Western Conference Finals when we got swept by the Warriors. So shout outs to Rain's team. I knew that backcourt with CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard, it's not going anywhere past that Western Conference, if that, right? So it is time, and I've been a huge advocate. I'll die on this hill to break up that backcourt. It's a pity that came to an end, but for me, as long as you don't trade away Dame, you still have a shot to be a strong playoff run. And I think the pieces that we got from CJ was maximize his trade value, in my opinion. And as we know, trade deadline deals are typically a little bit more over generous as teams are getting desperate to make playoffs. The Pelicans are in the playoff tourney, so they're trying to get that star power, while Zion, who knows when he gets back, but to pair him up with BI. But to get Josh Hart, a bunch of trade assets, a first rounder that will fall in our laps if it reaches 5 to 14, I think what the Blazers have been missing the last couple of years, especially since we shipped off those first rounders to get Robert Covington, which that experiment just did not work out. I think it puts us in a good position, good position to win now, to put the pieces around Dame. And I think a big part of that move is the rise of Ant Simons, man. He's a candidate for most improved player. Last bit on this part, because I brought up Ant already. I saw a stat on Twitter. in the 7-game stretch since the trade, it's almost identical with the points per game and assists between CJ and Ant. That's 26 points roughly, give or take, and then 5 or 6 assists. But for me, the difference between the two is one's 22 years old, who's still finding his way to his peak, doesn't cost 31 mil, plays defense and plays with tempo. So I'm happy with what's been going on so far.
Yeah, I mean, I just gotta say real quick before we get too far along in the cast, I didn't get a chance to chime in yet about Steve Nash, my guy. I was just gonna point out, first of all, I'll get back on the Trailblazers bandwagon. I just had to give my shout to Steve Nash too.
I love it, man. Yes, Steve was nasty, bro.
And like, if I'm ever gonna go out and watch a highlight film, I'm watching Steve Nash because he's got those crazy passes, and I'm watching White Chocolate, Jay Williams. So those are my two favorites to watch, honestly. But back on the topic of the Blazers. Oh, and by the way, Rasheed Wallace, Celtics. Wish he won the championship with us that year, but that's for another time. Well, I always got to throw in my Celtics dig, right?
That's true. That's true.
No, I honestly think that was a good, going against what a lot of people think. I think breaking up that backcourt was probably necessary. The experiment lasted a while. We had talked about this on the podcast a little bit, because my guys, Tatum and Brown were just talking about, can they coexist? Are they going to go through the same thing that Lillard and McCollum went through, and then eventually just have to get rid of one to just, figure something else out? Different pieces fit, well together. And, you're seeing it with Harden and Embiid right now. Like, they pair well together. They're bringing out the best in Maxey. I think the Blazers are on their way in finding something with Simons. Hopefully they get him to a long-term deal, and he can be the Robin to the Batman that Lillard needs, right in-house, and then you can build off of that. So I'm not really down on the Blazers, maybe this year, but moving forward and what they do in the offseason, TBD, they could be right in the hunt again next year.
The Portland Trail Tankers, man. The Portland Trail Tankers. That's where we're at right now.
And I want to tell you, I actually am a big Anthony Simons fan. This kid can ball. He's named after Penny, and his game is a little bit like Penny's. He's just a 6'3" Penny.
Yes, sir.
But I have to admit, I'm a little concerned about the Trailblazers building around Dame from this point. Like, Dame is the man, but at this point, yes, I love how you pointed out Simons is pretty much producing the way CJ was. Dame isn't on the court yet. Is this going to be just a modified version of that same backcourt with just youth at the two? Should the Blazers actually consider trade? I want to hear your thoughts on this. Any one of you. Should the Blazers this offseason, should they consider trading Dame? I don't think Dame's ever going to say he wants to be traded, right? But what's going to be best for the team? You can get a huge overhaul of stuff for Dame. I know the narrative right now is let's build around Dame like you want to. This is your star. He's committed to you. But literally, what can the Blazers do? It's hard to bring free agents to Portland. It just always has been, right? Right now, their roster is not looking like a roster that one of those, top tier players is going to be like, you know what, let's go.
Yep.
What are they going to trade? O'Shea has been he makes trades and then he retrades the players he just traded for, and then you have nothing. So what can the Blazers actually do? I'm not too confident. I'm not like a salty Suns fan. I'm just really concerned. I want to see Dame win. If Dame's in Portland, I want to see it happen. But I really don't know what they can do around Dame. And it might be time to trade him and actually let Simons be grow into the main player out there. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think?
You want to chime in, Rain, or should I get this?
Go ahead. I know. Come on. Go ahead, bro.
He's foaming at the mouth.
Or should I get this, brother? Let me get in here real quick. So I'll say this. One, the number one part of this new equation is Neil Shea isn't on the Blazers anymore. We got Joe Cronin, who's the interim GM, which is a huge shift because the stubbornness from Neil O'Shea.
Mhm.
So what he's always lacked is being aggressive. And his most aggressive move as our GM for 8-9 years was getting Aaron Aflalo. Like, come on, bro. Like that's his most aggressive. That's his marquee trade besides the Rocco trade. But for me, I think you nailed it too. You're one of the few people that say, hey, Dame isn't going to say he's going to want to get traded, right? Dame, unless it comes from Dame's mouth, he doesn't want to be traded, right? And I think that's the thing. For me, it's one of those ride or die. Has loyalty in his DNA. And I think with what Dame started, it's worth it for him to finish his career and kind of see it through. For me, before we started becoming the trail tanking Blazers, right, we had something going on in the sense that this team always lacked defensive versatility, perimeter defense, hustle, tenacity, right? This gritty young Blazers team without Damian Lillard, led by Josh Hart and Justice Winslow and Ant Simons, who right now aren't the biggest household names. But if you add, and then Nurkic, right? And Nurkic is out for another month. If we can add in one more All-Star, add a fully healthy Damian Lillard, who's said on multiple reports he has not felt himself in the last 3 years because of his abdominal issue. If you can get a team that gels together, has chemistry, because I think that's what's been lacking, right, with the Blazers. I think with the Dame and CJ that no one really talks about, it's like kind of, hey, this is my team. Like, whose team is this? Like, who's taking 30 shots a game? Who can put up the most points? But I think that type of energy and that type of selfish play being broken up, and now having a team where it's going to be more fluid in their offense and not settling for ISO ball. I guess the number one question here is if we can really bring in that all-star level player, and we can, since we have 2 first rounders, 2 of them that can be in top 10, and a lot of cash that we freed up getting rid of Norm and Rocco. So there's a lot of ifs to see where the Blazers go, but I think part of it is it's exciting because at least we have some upside to look forward to.
Got some options.
Definitely some upside. Definitely some upside.
Lot
These
downside
guys
too.
here, left and my right, know how disappointed I've been in the Trailblazers' handling of Damian Lillard's legacy and career. But you're right. I mean, honestly, if anybody's listening to this, watching this, this is why you need to listen to the Duel podcast, because they break it down. They know exactly what they're talking about. The analysis is on point. Okay,
On point like Steve Nash.
That's what I'm saying, but here's the thing. I don't want Dame to be like Steve Nash. All right, rocking, zero rings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
0 rings. Is it time to trade?
One last thing I want to bring up, though.
There it is. The same amount of rings as Will Gaddy. Well, I don't even know, because Will Gaddy actually has one.
I got a wedding ring. It's just not on right now. We're going to have to edit this out the film.
This episode's going to be just our forehead, bro, just like this. Hey, but real quick, I do want to say this. I'm not a stubborn Trailblazers fan in the sense that if it can make this team better and if Dame gives approval, I am okay with trading him. And there is a package, and I'm looking at CJ real quick. There's a package I would take, and that's a Jaylen Brown package if Jaylen Brown is included. That's like a package I would take. I absolutely would. A Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown.
The one thing coming out of Boston media, right, is that that's not going to happen, specifically because if they were to try and trade for Lillard, they would want it as a big 3, right? They would want Lillard, Brown, and Tatum. And this was all right. So when Brown and Tatum were not working in that first half of the season, and it was just like, is this team an 8th seed? Really? Is this really what we're doing right now? Like, and then before they turned it around, found their defensive identity and started playing well together, everybody was like, I mean, maybe just doing a Brown for Lillard type swap, but my feeling is they would throw something like, Rob Williams and Marcus Smart and, maybe something like a Pritchard and a Horford for contract. Like, I feel like it would be a multi-pack, like quality players for Lillard. And then the Celtics would be left like,
is that a quality trade?
Those pieces on free agency, those vets that are just like, yeah, pick me. Let's go win a championship. So you know, we'll be the guys who are going to grab like Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, the path this offseason should definitely be interesting because you know, who knows, right? Like you guys said, there's no way Lillard is going to come out there and be like, I want to be traded. Just not. I mean, we'll all be shocked if he does, but no, it's just not who he is, right? He's already said like I could finish my career here, and like, you know, it's go get him help. I just hope they go get him help, right? Somebody go to Portland.
Me too.
Somebody go to Portland and help Damian Lillard.
So who could that be? Like if you take a look at the upcoming free agency, right? I love the idea of trading for Jaylen Brown. You know,
yeah,
I like Don's take. I like Don's take of him going out and like they have trade assets, right? And there's not a lot of guys who have no trade clauses like that can just block anything. So I think Portland will end up going that trade route. And then whoever goes there is going to be like, yeah, you know, Lillard, I'll give it a shot with Lillard, see how things are. They got a decent roster. Let's see what we can do. You know, I don't think anybody's going to be like, nah, I'm not going to Portland to play with, like, you know, Lillard's not a selfish player like that, you know, and I think people can see that there's a roster there. There's something taking place. They need another star, like you said. And free agency might be tough.
I'll say this real quick before I pass it off to Rain, because I want Rain to chime in here. But if you're wondering, hey, what are names that I'm curious or I'd love to see the Blazers acquire either through trade or through free agency? I'll start by saying free agency is pretty scarce. I don't know if y'all seen the free agents. It's like the fourth best player is like TJ Warren, bro. Like it is not hot this offseason. But for me, I would love to see, and Rain and I has been bringing him up a lot on the pod for trade proposals, but John Collins would be dope. I think that there is some potential there. Yes. We got the money, we got the cash. I'd love to get John. I think that the pick and pop, the pick and roll with Lillard, that's what he's missing, that flexible, that versatile four, or a stretch four that can defend the perimeter, Jeremy Grant. So I think those are my top two. My James mentioned this in our pod, but a Santa's list, man. Those are my two top options.
Man, that's well put. Well put. I think they would be great. That could actually Collins could actually change the franchise, like around Dame. Like that's the type of
I'm getting a tribal tattoo, bro. If he makes it on our team, I'm gonna get the same exact one, bro. Right here.
We're holding you to it. We're replaying this when John.
I'm gonna get the notification. I'm like, oh.
It's gonna be great. We're gonna have to do a GoFundMe. That one's gonna be pricey, right?
The Blazers are sitting just a game and a half out of the play-in. Do you honestly want to see them get into the play-in?
Nah,
because he just said Portland Trail Tankers. That's what he said.
Yeah,
they're failing at the tank. Like look, they're not too far out of the play-in. Like, you know, it's still possible.
I want to hear what Rain says. What Rain wants.
Me too. Yeah.
He says he wants the Blazers in that play-in.
The only reason why I would want them in is I would love to see them play the Pelicans, you know, in a play-in game, right? Pelicans, Blazers.
Ooh, yeah.
Or I would love to see them play the Lakers and upset the Lakers. I would love that too. So that's why I would want to see them in.
If the Lakers wind up in the play-in, they're played out pretty much. Like they're not going to win. Like it's a disaster in LA. And now the Blazers lost 5 straight, right? But let's transition.
Wait. Hold on.
Man, you got a transition saying Blazers lost 5 straight. Come on, man. Be cool.
I want to.
The Blazers are booty, but
Daddy loves that. Booty's been subject
to that was straight up disrespectful.
I was about to disrespect Dub Nation too, but I'll delay that disrespect. Go ahead. What were you about to say?
Just to wrap up on the Blazers, I think what they can look to the Bucks and the Suns, right, with how to build their teams as a small market team, like draft well, sign one or big free agent. Then that's how you attract more people coming in. It's a lot harder for small market teams to maintain, you know, their players and winning. But I think if you were to look at a blueprint, the Blazers can look at the Suns and the Bucks, and you know, obviously they both made the finals last year. Yeah. So I wanted to add in on that.
No, that's a phenomenal point. Well taken. That is it. I actually do believe the Blazers can turn it around. And in my opinion, it's hard to rely on free agency and what type of trades are out there. But you know, like the players you named and just building through the draft, you know, those could definitely be some things. Right now, the Blazers lost 5 straight, right? But they're still hanging into the play.
So you went back to it. You went right
Oh,
back
yeah,
to it.
because I still wanted to do what I was going to do, so I'm gonna
I
do
know,
it now,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know,
We want them to come back.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
That's just 5. Now,
I
the
know.
Dub Nation, one of the hottest teams in the league all throughout the year, are just 3 wins in their last 10 games, right? But you can never count out the Golden State Warriors because, you know, that team, one thing that I really respect about the Warriors is they did it the right way. Yes, KD left last year. Clay was hurt. Steph didn't, you know, Steph was playing, but, you know, Steph was hurt. Like, it wasn't a great season last year. What'd you say?
He was balling when he came back. Steph was
He was balling when they came back, but last year the role players got a lot of significant time, right?
Yep.
Jordan Poole got a lot of significant time. You know, now this year you got Poole, you got Toscano, you know, you got Gary Payton II, who is playing like he's looking like Andre Iguodala 2.0 out there right now. The Warriors have role players, and they have my favorite rookie in the draft, Jonathan Kuminga, who I said on this sportscast a while ago would be in the race for Rookie of the Year. That doesn't look like it's going to happen, but I still think he's one of the more talented rookies in this class. So I'll tell you what, I'm a Suns fan. I think it's going to come down to us. I'm afraid. I'm not going to lie. I really am. Because I want Chris Paul to get a championship, but I'm afraid, man. I don't think it matters what the Warriors' record is right now. They're going to be ready come playoffs, man. What you think, Rain?
Yeah, exactly. So you took the words out of my mouth. Like, we're talking about the Warriors as the second best team in the whole league. I mean, not anymore, but they're struggling, right? They like you said, they only won 3 games out of their 10. But right now, what they're trying to do is unique, is because they're trying to rebuild and win at the same time, which we've seen before. It's really hard to do in the league. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, with Draymond being out, the defense has slipped a lot, which has led to all the L's so far. I mean, I'm a diehard Warrior fan. I've seen plenty of L's in my lifetime, but so a 5-game losing streak, that's nothing to me. But I will say in these games, we're blowing big leads in the fourth quarter. It's not like we're getting blown out the entire game. Like, we're in the games, but we just can't close games out. And that's the big problem. But when Draymond comes back, when Iguodala comes back, James Wiseman, when we have that closing lineup come back, I think we'll be just fine. Like, I was telling Don last week, and James, you think Steve Kerr cares about a March 8th game in the regular season, or do you think he cares more about second round or Western Conference Finals game 4 against the Suns? Right. So for me, I'm not panicking. I'm not worried. I think we'll turn it around. And the good thing right now is that actually Kuminga, Moses Moody, like Poole, all the young players are actually playing very well in important minutes right now. So that is only going to benefit the team once we're fully healthy, and then we go into the playoffs. And then Steph, Clay, Draymond, the vets, they know what time it is once we get in.
I think the big thing to point out too right here is, like, they've been without James Wiseman, who's supposed to be a pretty good player, right? I mean, like, we haven't seen a lot of him. He's going to help that inside game. You know, I just feel like they're going to get stronger. Like you said, all the young guys are actually like gelling with that team, which is scary. And like Klay Thompson, we forget that he hasn't been playing that long. Like, he doesn't have all his legs under it. Like, he's not peak Klay Thompson yet. And, you know, they're going to be super dangerous, like, you know, come playoff time. And like you said, you know, I don't think it matters what their record is. And, you know, in the whoever plays them, whoever gets the Warriors, nobody wants Warriors first round, right? Like, people are going to dread it. Right, like, teams are going to be dreading it if, like, the Warriors keep slipping a little bit and they hit the 4 seed. Nobody wants to be in that 5 seed. They're going to be they're going to be playing their bench players, trying to drop back to 6. Just, you know, maybe we'll get Memphis instead. Because frankly, I don't know about you guys. Feel free to chime in here. I think the Warriors still would blow Memphis out in a series.
I'll tell you a team that's probably really disappointed right now, and that's the Denver Nuggets. You know, they're the 6th seed, and, you know, you got Nikola Jokic having an MVP caliber season, you know, with the numbers he's putting up about the back-to-back MVP. And, you know, they got swept by the Suns last year. They're trying to make a run this year once they get into the playoffs. They haven't been fully healthy, but if the playoffs ended today and Golden State was at 3 and Denver's at 6, man, they're gonna make McNuggets out of them Denver boys, man.
They gotta get
their guys. A bad look for Jokic.
Jamal Murray's supposed to be coming back soon in MPJ. I mean, the reports are saying that they may be ready by playoffs or even right before. But yeah, I mean, we'll see, man. I think Jokic is another conversation, bro. Like what he's doing to that team, he's literally that would be a bottom dwelling team if it wasn't for Jokic. And they're like you said, they're almost at 5. Like, come on, bro, they're crazy.
Yeah,
go ahead. Yeah.
I've been thinking. I think it's literally been for the last like 25 minutes because 5 minutes into the sportscast, Rain, you were saying that you felt like Steph Curry was one of the most disrespected superstars of this generation. For literally 25 minutes, I've been thinking in my head like, is he getting disrespected? Like, you know, I'm a huge fan. I think we're all
right. I am too, and I'm a Celtics guy. Like, you know, I think.
But it just clicked. Literally, the light bulb. I wish you could see it. It just clicked. Because the man has 3 rings, no finals MVPs, right? People do look at him and they say, is he flash? Is he sizzle with no stake? Can he win by himself? Or can he win with just the team that they have right now with just Clay, right? Did they need KD in order to keep that dynasty alive? There has been disrespect for playoff Steph. Steph hasn't even been to the playoffs now in a couple of years. So this is a chance that if they do make it, I'm telling you, this chef is about to be cooking something up because I think the disrespect is there. And I think he's going to try to make a name for himself. This might be the year.
Well, all right. I mean,
real quick, I want to say something real quick because when you said that, like a light, I just thought of the bat signal coming from the hat.
You literally do have a light on your head.
Like one of those, bro. I was like, okay.
No, and I also didn't get to say, you know, like don't feel bad about that transition. You know, like the Blazers are still, you know, they could still do their thing. You know, like Gaddy sometimes likes to. I was gonna say,
troll, man.
He likes to bring the transition. He's done this to Woody and the Jets so many times.
Oh no, I love it, man. I love it.
He's gonna be like, yo, Golden State's 3-7 in their last 10. Yeah. All right, next topic.
we call it trolling transitions, man. But I do want to talk about the Steph disrespect. I actually agree with you, Rain. I'm a big Steph Curry fan. I think he's the greatest point guard to ever play in the NBA, right? Now, I argue with a lot of Philly fans, right? And a lot of fans in Philadelphia disagree. And the reasons why, oh, yeah, he can shoot, but he's not a facilitator. I'm like, do you watch Steph? Because this is why LeBron could not beat the Warriors, right? Because the way they play is they will let Draymond facilitate and Steph will score like 18 points in 4 game minutes. Then they let Steph facilitate, and Clay will score like another like 15 to 20. And they keep rotating who's torching, right? Steph can absolutely facilitate. You know, if you want him to facilitate the whole game, Steph will average over 10 assists per game. I'm so confident in that. But not only is he good at that, man, obviously he's got range that we've never seen before in the NBA. I think he was robbed out of his finals MVP. There is no way Andre Iguodala should have got finals MVP. You know, Steph did have a couple rough games against Delhi, but he was by far the best player in that series and the reason why Golden State won that championship. So I agree. Steph is incredibly disrespected. A lot of people argue that he's not the, a top 5 point guard of all time. And to me, I love no disrespect to Magic Johnson, but Steph Curry has changed the position. A lot of point guards from now until another couple decades are going to be pulling up from whose range? Steph's range.
Yep.
I mean, there's just talk about fun players to watch. I mean, good. Like what he's able to do is like we haven't seen anybody like him ever, right? That's why he's changed the game, because he just figured out like, okay, I'm not the biggest guy out here. I'm just going to learn how to shoot a high percentage from like deep. Like guys are going to have to cover me. And on top of that, I'm going to have crazy handle, like, and be able to distribute it. Like we haven't seen that caliber. You know, we've seen guys like Nash who have the similar ball handling skills, like exceptional court vision, can hit the three, but Nash wasn't pulling from that distance. You know what I mean? Consistently. He wasn't like stepping over half court and people being like, oh, get the hands up time. Like that's tough. That is tough to defend. And that's a lot of energy spent on the defense. Like you got to have a point guard who's willing to just grind for 48 minutes and stay on his hip. And the last thing I'll leave with is if there's two guys in the league, straight up, two guys in the league that oh crap, we left them open for three. And you can just walk around and turn away and be like, well, there's three. Clay and Steph. And it's just, you know, you're sitting there like, you know, like sometimes you're like, oh, I hope you miss this. You might as well just flip. Yep. All right, cool.
Steph probably turned around before you did.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying is like that having those two guys on that team, you can't ever rule them out of like being world champions. Steph and Clay, I don't know if they can lead their own team, right? They're not that type of player, right? They're not the bull of LeBron. They, you know, they're not that type of player, but together, whew, boy, Splash Bros or something, man. There's something.
I don't know, Rain. Did that sound like disrespect to you? Steph can't lead his own team?
No, I think that's part of it, right? Like that's part of the reason why he's disrespected is the way that he goes about it. Like he's not this alpha male pumping his chest, walking around. Yes, he does showboat. But he's making all these crazy shots. He's making these crazy. This is out of this world. So yes, I would showboat too if I was making those types of shots. Yeah. So like, you know, that's part of the reason why is because, you know, he's not very like animated. He's not very, you know, alpha like to everybody, yelling at everybody on the sidelines. He's more of like, hey, I'm calm, I'm cool, I'm collected. Clay is my number 2, right? Or you can even say they're 1A and 1B, and that's been the entire culture of the Warriors for the past decade, right? And now you got these youngsters coming in. They understand how to play basketball the Warrior way, I guess you can say. And I'll say this too. What other guy is getting double teamed at half court once he crosses the half court line? Nobody else. And if he got the type of foul calls that James Harden got, he'd average 40 easy.
Just to clarify, right? Like I'm just trying to put this into the perspective of like, I don't want to bash Steph's greatness. I truly think that he is quite literally one of the best point guards to ever play the game.
I smell some disrespect coming.
Here we go.
Bro, listen, LeBron James, like his rookie year, I don't see like LeBron James, his rookie season, 2007, lost to the Spurs, look at the roster that was around him. Like just what he was, the fact that he was able to bring that team to a finals, like, I don't know if Steph is that type of player to be able to like just be, like have that full saddle. Like, yes, he would be able to certainly make that team much better, but I don't think if you replace Steph with LeBron on that team, that's an Eastern Conference Finals. That's my comparison, just to say where my head's coming from.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough, but also, you know, LeBron was playing against Gilbert Arenas and Antoine Jameson and the Wizards, and you know whoever else he played back then in that era of basketball. I would say that to the path of the championships that Steph has played, been one of the best teams. Like the West in those times were like you had all 5 all NBA first team guys, and Steph had to play them to win in 2015. So yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. Like, I am not opposed to LeBron's legacy and what he did. I mean, he had Zydrunas Ilgauskas, right, as his number 2, right?
Sasha Pavlovich out there hitting like critical threes.
Yeah, Larry Hughes, bro.
Yeah, Larry, yeah, man. You know it. You know Larry Hughes was out there.
Yeah.
You know he was out there.
I got a lot of respect for the job Steph did last year with those guys around him. A lot of superstars wouldn't have been able to take that team to a play-in, right?
Yeah.
Especially with the because Steph actually let them grow. Like I think Steph could have went out there and tried to score 50 a night and make 10 threes a game because he's capable of trying to do that.
Right.
But he was committed to letting those guys figure it out, right? While still trying to keep the team competitive. And that was a very pivotal year. I mean, I think the Warriors, regardless of where they wind up in the standings this year, whether it be 2 or 3, right? I still think they're the most dangerous team in the West. And I think that going forward, they're going to continue to be dangerous because, they're probably going to re-sign Jordan Poole. Who knows what the market is going to be on him? But, they're going to try to keep. Then you got Wiseman, who's going to be growing up. And he hasn't even reached. Yeah, we haven't even seen him get close to his potential. But Draymond Green is Draymond is exactly what Wiseman needs because Draymond gets on him hard. And you're going to see a beast in Wiseman. It's a shame we didn't really get to see him play this year. And then my guy, man, Jonathan Kuminga, who to me is like literally the next Kawhi Leonard. I'm not even exaggerating. He really has that type of potential. This team, they did it the right way. It's incredible what they're doing. So, Rain, question.
Yeah.
If we meet in the Western Conference Finals, right?
Yeah.
Suns, Warriors, WCF. Who do you got?
Warriors in 7.
Warriors in 7.
Yeah, it's gonna go to 7.
Now that game 7, right? Are we talking like final possession or are we talking like route?
Not route. There's gonna be wire to wire each game. It's just who can execute the most during crunch time. Like 2 minutes left, right? I don't know, game tied, or y'all are up by 3 or 5, or we're up by 3 or 5. Who can execute? Who can make the game winning plays, right?
I just hope game 7 schedule-wise ends up being on a Sunday at like 3 p.m. So that way, like, I can get myself together and get some sleep that night. Because if it's a night game and the Suns lose at the end and they don't go to the finals, then I'm not going to sleep that night.
You might have a doctor's appointment the next day, like just calling out of work and just fetal position. No, that's honestly that my palms are like sweaty thinking about that series. Like that would be wire to wire. Like I honestly don't know at this point. Full health, full like rosters as they are right now. Whew. That would be a fun one to watch. I think and that's the thing, as I was saying before, is like I'm not trying to say Memphis is overrated, because they're a good team, but just knowing what the Warriors and the Suns have as far as experience and just having done this, like both those guys, they meet up in the playoffs. Woo, boy, that's gonna be a fun one to watch.
I do think the Warriors it's gonna be. I think is in that second round is going to be Warriors Grizzlies because the Grizzlies are really really good, and I don't think they have enough experience to beat the Warriors, right? Do any of you guys have experience in playing fantasy basketball?
Absolutely.
Yes.
We got an active league going on right now.
Oh, listen, next year I need to be in your league, right?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what.
Expansion.
Let's get it.
Can't ever find people to play fantasy basketball with me. You want to talk about disrespect? We talked about disrespected players. This is a whole disrespected forum. Like people across the world don't care about fantasy basketball because it's not fantasy football, right?
Yep.
So,
Thanks.
fellas, what do you guys like most about fantasy basketball and what keeps you playing it?
I'll just say this. Thanks for not starting in with Blazers with a five game losing streak. So I appreciate that. I'm fine. But honestly, man, I think you said it right. You literally said it right, and why we pivoted and rebranded to the dual Strictly Hoops, because we want to own this space that's kind of like uncharted territory. Because like you said, podcasts, YouTube channels, all that good stuff, all fantasy football, right? Like there's commercials on this stuff, right? Ads, all that stuff. So Rainey and I, we're trying to take full full charge of this space that, like you said, isn't really a household name. But Rain, I'll let you chime in, man, because there's a lot I can talk about right now.
Yeah, I think we want to make fantasy basketball as popular as fantasy football, because there's even some people that don't really watch football, like that are in a fantasy football work league, right? And they'll join. So we want to do the same thing for fantasy basketball. I think what I really enjoy with fantasy basketball personally is that some players that I might not watch on a nightly basis, like I'll throw out, like, I don't know, Darius Garland, right? Or Evan Mobley, or even just the Cavs in general.
Wendell Carter,
DeJounte Murray, right? We can keep going down the line. But these players that normally I don't watch, like, it's cool to see, like, these guys are ballers. Like, we forget this is the NBA. There's a lot of good players in the NBA. And, you know, if you just watch the nationally televised games, you don't really get to see a lot of these guys all the time. So I think for me, because I'm just a hoop head, like that's my favorite part about fantasy basketball.
Yeah, no, it's just and on that same topic, like being able to find these gems before they start thriving. Like Josh Giddey, Rain and I called Josh Giddey 2 weeks into hooping. Like we already knew this is a diamond in the rough. Like seeing players like that, where you'll start to know the third string backup center, right? That got called up for the second time on a second 10-day contract, right? Like that lets me know the analytics of Bismack Biyombo, bro. So like it's just like crazy, because fantasy hoops helps get you in. And again, this is like for hoop heads, like you said. But I think it's so funny you say that, because I know so many homies that basketball is their first sport, if you will. Like that's what they follow the most. But they have like 5 football leagues. But then when I'm like, oh, you're trying to join our league, it's just like, all right, like let's get it. I'll say this real quick: we have 2 spots open. We're gonna expand it to 12 teams. It's a 10-teamer. Hey, so spots are going to be open, fellas.
I'm in.
So, let me talk to you about that, actually, because I feel like I just fit that mold. All right, I grew up playing basketball. All right, I think there was a basketball in the womb that I just came out, was trying to dribble when I was born. You know what I mean? But now,
but now,
you know, we talking about what fantasy sports I'm playing. I am in 4 fantasy football leagues. Okay. But I'm in 0 fantasy basketball leagues. So let me tell you what my 2 biggest challenges are, and what would the duel say to my 2 big challenges? So number 1, I think fantasy football is, you know, pretty standardized with the scoring. There are like different, right? There's like standard or like PPR, but any way you slice it, if someone off the street asks me to play fantasy football, I know that Patrick Mahomes is a good pick. Okay. But in fantasy basketball, the scoring could be all different types of, it could be categories, it could be totals. Now, when you go to the categories themselves, are we doing 3-point made percentage, or are we doing rebounds, assists, turnover? Like, you have no idea. Like Russell Westbrook, someone who gets triple doubles all the time, could be fire. But if it's one of those percentage leagues, then he's trash. So it's like a whole lot to learn. That's like a huge disadvantage, that, you know, fantasy basketball, the scoring could literally be anything. And obviously, number 2, for those work leagues, I mean, hey, you know, you just got to make sure you set your lineup by Thursday. That's it. You know, you set it by Thursday. Maybe someone gets hurt, you know, Friday, someone, you know, has the flu. Of course, these last 2 years, you know, someone has COVID. But like in the NBA, that's every day, you know, everyday maintenance. So what would you say to people that, you know, are worried about those 2 things when they're trying to get into fantasy hoops?
Hey, Rain, I'll get the first one. You want to get the second one?
Yep, you read my mind. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, sir. Man, I got that dual connection, bro. I swear. It's funny. Will was like, hey, are you guys in the same room? And like, imagine we just like pop up or like right next to each other. I don't know why. I think that's so funny. Like, oh, yeah, he's right here, bro. Like, I think that's so funny, bro. That's how it feels like, though. Like, that's my guy. Anyway, so I'll bring up the scoring because I am the commish. Like, I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to say like
Adam Silver,
man, flex.
Don Woj, but no. But so the reason why I bring that up is you want to make it a democracy. Not you want to make sure everyone that's a part of the league like agrees. So I always make sure that I let the Rain can hopefully vouch this. Let everyone vote on it. So we do. I'll start off by saying what we use, like the scoring. So it's head-to-head scoring, right? And just real quick for those, because to Will's point, we're trying to bring this in as a household name. So for those of you that don't know what head-to-head scoring means, is there is a point percent, like a point, right? So value per each statistic, right? So there's positive and negative. How I'm going to simplify this is if you've played fantasy football, we try making our league head-to-head scoring as similar as possible to fantasy football, right? Because when you throw a touchdown, that's what 4 points. If you catch a touchdown, 6 points, right? So like same concept with head-to-head scoring. If you shoot a 3, that's 3 points. If you miss a 3, that's -1. So we try to make it an easy transition if you're used to playing fantasy football to make that transition, because as we know, like you mentioned a really good debatable player, right? With Westbrook, my bad. I didn't mean to do that. Westbrook. I swear I did not mean to do that.
You're not tolerating that no more.
Anyway, the fact that Russell, I'll make it easier. We're gonna, and it's a good segue in a second. Russell, right? Russell brings a triple double, so that's an additional, again, based off your commissioner, based off of your pointing system, that's an additional 6 points. So it is one of those things that if you know that he can pad stats, right? If you know that he's a walking double, really quick pro tip, like stack up on big men because high percentage, rebounds, and scoring, right? So it's one of those things that if you follow hoops, like it'll organically, you'll be able to hopefully thrive within a couple go rounds with playing fantasy hoops. Brandon, what you got, bro?
Yeah, for the second question, I mean, I will say having a fantasy basketball team is like having a part-time job at times. Like, let's be like, to be real. But in terms of, for football, you're right, Woody. Like, all you have to do is you have to check before the Thursday night game, set your lineup, and then you're good for the week. Now, actually, for fantasy basketball, there are features like that where you go in Sunday night or even Monday morning. You could say, hey, I want to set my lineup for the week, and then you can set it and forget it. But the thing is with fantasy basketball is that, especially with this season, with COVID and everything that's going on, injuries, right? You have to know who's on the waiver wire. Like you literally have to be on the waiver wire every day. Like that should be part of your morning routine when you wake up. If you're in a fantasy basketball league, you got to look at the waiver wire. You got to look at who's getting dropped, who's available, who's hurt. I mean, Don probably has the most transactions in our league. Whenever I want to pick up a guy, it's like, oh, I already picked up by Don's team. Like that's how competitive and that's how quick it is. But I think it is fun, right? Because like this season, Lance Stevenson was picked up, right? Like, the last time we seen him play was a while, but that's the type of thing. Like if you are, not even just like a hoop head, but if you want to become a fan of the game, a fan of basketball, I think, fantasy basketball is the way to go. And like Don said, we try to make it similar to fantasy football. So that way the transition is a lot more easier than being overwhelmed with like, oh, field goal percentage, oh, 3-pointers missed, 3-pointers made. It's the exact same thing as fantasy football. There's a lot of stats there too. So try to make it easy.
One last thing about like how big your league is, right? Because sometimes you're in a 16-team league, right? And then 4 or 5 of them are check it out, right? Yeah. So I make sure it's almost like I go through auditions. Like you have to be serious about this because if we catch you like not setting your lineup, I'm not gonna invite you next year. I'm gonna make sure that you're dedicated, and that's what makes it fun, bro.
Yes.
Like the seeds 1 through 6 is like 2 through 6 is like separated by like 1 or 2 games, so it's crazy. But Rain's right. I always have that alarm at like 12 a.m. so I can sneak. This is me, guys. This is me. And then I set that alarm. It's nighttime. I set that alarm stealth mode, and then there I go. I swoop on those players.
There you go.
My girl's like, "What are you doing, bro?" I'm like, "It's waiver wire."
It's waiver wire time, right? No, that's great.
Contracts. These 10-day contracts are happening right now.
Literally, bro. Like, I like to see it. Yeah, it's 10-day contract. That's helpful.
I think you guys actually nailed it for me because I haven't been in a fantasy basketball league. This is the 3rd straight season. I was always the commissioner, but I got tired of chasing people down, and then they're not. People they don't ever touch their lineup, and it's like me and 2 other people that are like committed, and it just gets played out. So I haven't played it, but one of my favorite things about it was, like you said, your words. If you're a hoop head, you're doing yourself a disservice by not playing fantasy basketball because you miss out on certain things. Like, for example, this year, DeAndre Ayton was out. McGee was out. Suns acquired Bismack Biyombo. And he just went on this tear of games where he was getting
Yes,
double
sir.
doubles. He was blocking shots. And like, you can't get hype about that unless you have him on your fantasy team. And if you love basketball, you don't even have to be a Suns fan. But if like Bismack is winning games for you, you're like, yo, Bismack Biyombo is doing the thing.
Right.
And then you feel more connected to the league. It's the same reason why people play fantasy football. You know, people don't even know much about the rules in the actual NFL, but they play fan. You can't have a conversation with them about the X's and O's and what actually took place on the field, but they'll tell you, yeah, Stephon Diggs, 11 catches. You know, I got a PPR league. He had me 110 yards and a touchdown. You know, they can talk to you about that. That's all they know. You know, they're not going to be able to talk to you about the defense, but this keeps that fan connected to the NFL. It can do the same in the NBA, and I think it's phenomenal that the Duel is on the job to represent fantasy basketball. Ladies and gentlemen, they only got 2 spots left, and I'm taking one of them. But you need to get in your own league. You need to get in your own league next year.
Yeah, I will say too, like fantasy basketball is not as publicized as fantasy football, right?
Right.
I think that's another part of it. But to your point, when you talked about Biyombo, hey, I picked up Jalen Smith before he got traded. He got me some wins a couple of weeks. I picked him up. Yeah.
I picked up Bismack, bro. That's why I brought that up, man. He was on a tear. I was at dinner. I was like, okay, Biyombo, let's go, bro.
He was on eBay looking up Biyombo jerseys.
The Hornets jersey, bro.
I was actually at the Phoenix Suns versus Indiana Pacers game in Phoenix. It was like January 22nd. It was like that weekend of that week. And Bismack had like 18 and 14 and like 3 blocks, and he was just killing. And the dude behind me had him on his fantasy team. And if I could have recorded how hype he was getting, it's like, yo, put Bismack back in. And I'm just like, see, I like you, man, because that's fantasy basketball is actually fun. But what makes it not fun is when the league is down to like 3 people that's active. You know, that just waters it down.
It's funny CJ brought up it's real quick. It's funny that CJ brought the jersey because Rain knows a rule that we implemented because we voted on it. Highest scorer gets a jersey of their choice at the end of the season.
Okay. Wow.
So like,
you should have led with that. Yo,
I'm gonna get that Biyombo jersey, bro. I might get that Biyombo jersey.
I just want to let everybody know that the last spot's closed too, so they're gonna.
Let's go.
CJ's in. Let's go.
I'm a jersey guy, bro. You know, I
love it, bro. Dude,
I
I'm admire it right now, bro.
I was gonna say too, I should have brought this up earlier, but another incentive to get people playing the entire season is that in our league, the loser. So here's what the loser has to do. The loser, we decided has to
get a John
be
Collins tattoo.
Oh, bro, I'll get
the last place person has to be a super fan of one of the most hated NBA players. So right now we have Pat Bev up there, we have Kuzma, and so for an entire week,
bro.
Yeah, for an entire week, the last place player has to comment and repost like off of their social media of one of the most hated players in the league.
Wow,
yeah,
now that's dope. That's a
they
very
gotta
unique.
own it.
They gotta own it.
They gotta own it. Yeah,
You gotta own it. Wow, that's dope, and that's a very unique perspective right there. That's good. So, fellas, killed it on the court side for him. I mean, it's great conversations, talking about the Trailblazers, talking about Dub Nation, and talking about fantasy basketball, right? But where would you guys, now that Russell Wilson has gotten traded to the Denver Broncos, let's just go to the sidelines for a second, right? Is Russell Wilson a more valuable fantasy quarterback now with the weapons he's going to have there in Denver, or just outside of fantasy? What do you think about the Broncos now that Russell Wilson is going to be their quarterback?
You go first, Rand, since he left your division, bro.
Yeah, so I would say as a Niner fan, I love it. Good riddance. Oh man, that guy, I could not sleep. That guy gave me nightmares, man. I'm not gonna lie, he owned the Niners, and to see him out of the division, I love it. But you know what? As a football fan, too, respect, man. Like he was there for a decade. He was getting beat up with no offensive line, and then once the Legion of Boom started, departing, like he carried that team as much as he could. But to not see him in a division anymore, I love it, man. I love it. And I think, with the Broncos, with the weapons that he has, oh man, Jared Jeudy, first round pick in fantasy football next season.
Definitely.
Hey, I want to be in your. If you're going to take Jared Jeudy in the first round, I want to be in your fantasy football league too.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. Judy's going off though.
He's
great,
man. It's just the injury bug.
That's true.
Yeah. That's how.
No. Point well taken.
Don, how you feeling?
How am I doing? Not so well, man. With the news with Russ Wilson, man. I mean, for respect in the sense that he was previous part of the hardest division, arguably, right? With the Cardinals and Rams and Niners, of course. But now, like, come on, bro. Like, I'm not even gonna take shots fired at Derek Carr because he's still he's a reputable quarterback. He can still sling it, man. Like, he's still a yards leading quarterback. But bro, that AFC West is gonna be a bloodbath, bro. Like,
definitely a bloodbath.
Oh yeah.
Like, bro, that there's no guarantees across all those different teams. I'm not even gonna sleep on the Raiders. I can't even talk, man. Like, I'm gonna own it, bro. They shut us out, but for the regular season game to sneak into that playoff. So it's just like, you never know. But I think what this does is it alters the shift in strategy with Chargers and most likely other division with the Raiders and the Chiefs, how they're going to draft and also add free agents. That's my opinion. Like, for me, we were thinking about Chris Olave from the Ohio State, Garrett Wilson, Ohio State, right? We're looking at a bunch of different skills players. But after this trade, we better go cornerback. We better go defense, and also free agency with some defense. So I think this alters the strategy on how a lot of the AFC is going to be looking at the Broncos moving forward. As we all know here, like, the Broncos almost snuck into playoffs with a cross hybrid of Teddy Bridge and Drew Lock, right? So, like, you add an all-pro potential future Hall of Famer, right, who's only 33, a lot of gas left in the tank. You have one of the best defenses already, right? You have all the offensive weapons, as you mentioned already. Adding the back field tandem, if they re-sign Melvin Gordon, right, with Javonte Williams, who's going to be feasting, bro. He's going to be a top 5 in fantasy, in my opinion, for running backs. I think he has it with him if Melvin Gordon doesn't get re-signed. But they're scary, bro. Like, I'm not happy about that at all.
Before I talk about the Broncos, I need to say something to these Seahawks, because this word has been thrown around on this sportscast a lot. And it's the word disrespect. Did anybody see the tweet?
Yes.
The Seahawks tweet, how they announced, how they just shipped off their franchise quarterback who gave them everything that he had to give behind that patchwork O-line that Rain mentioned before. They had the audacity to have Tom Hanks just screaming, "Wilson, where's Wilson?" As like, did he disrespect the organization? What did he do to you? What? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. So,
speaking of tweets, we got to bring this up. I'm so sorry, but speaking of tweets, I got to say this before I forget. Someone said that the skills players on the Broncos are going to be pissed because they can't play future in the locker room anymore.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that tweet.
Yeah,
I did see that too. The disrespect, man. The disrespect. All I'm saying is Broncos are definitely going to be a beast to be worried about. I do also think, though, that the Seahawks got a decent haul, though. Like, everyone's talking about the Broncos, and yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to be fire, but I don't think the Seahawks are going away. They might be taking a nap this year. This year might not be great, but I mean, with their haul, 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, Noah Fant is a tremendous tight end. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be sleeping too long.
Yeah, but
let me just say,
real quick. I don't have a lot to dig into here, so I'll leave it off to you real quick. But I got to point this out because me and Woody were so hyped on the NFC West last year, and the new NFC West, because Russell Wilson went over to the AFC. Now I'm on the hype train of the AFC West because
I'm right there.
We thought that was going to be a bloodbath last year. Right, that was the division that was just going to be like, who the heck's going to come out on top, right? Like, it's just ridiculous. Now, Russell Wilson, ironically, just made that shift happen because look at the quarterbacks that you're dealing with in that division. Like, I mean,
Crazy.
it's going to be a wild time. I mean, and who knows who the Raiders are going to draft to? Like, who knows who everybody's going to pick up in the draft? Raiders are probably going to get, whoever had the best 40 time. And then the rest of them will fall into place. But that was my only comment because it was the irony of just NFC West to AFC West, and now it's just like, well, we kind of know what's going to happen in the NFC West, and now AFC. Woo.
Yeah, let me ask you guys this, right? Because now from the NFC perspective, AFC is much harder. AFC has all the quarterbacks, right? Besides Aaron Rodgers, who is another top NFC quarterback right now?
Kyler, you should know him real well. He
hasn't won. Jimmy G's made it further than Kyler. Kyler has not won a playoff game yet.
Matt Stafford.
I mean,
fine,
right? He's he just won a Super Bowl. Come on, we can't disrespect him that much.
The NFC is more. It's funny. The NFC has more defensive teams, but the AFC, the balance of quarterbacks are definitely in the American Football Conference. The NFC is literally just riding off of, like, I'm not going to sound like a homer because Dak has a lot to prove, but that's saying a lot. Like, Dak's not better than a lot of the AFC quarterbacks, but in the NFC, you'd have to say behind Matt Stafford and Aaron Rodgers.
Carson Wentz might be a top 5 quarterback in the NFC.
Yes, he folded in the playoff game. He looked very bad.
But Kyler consistently folds in the fourth quarter of the season. This is becoming a theme for him.
I need you guys to absorb this right now. Carson Wentz might be a top 5 quarterback in the NFC.
Bro, Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan is probably a top 5. Like, come on, bro.
We forget about Matt Ryan.
Listen, Matt Ryan might be top 3.
You want to talk about tweets? Did you see the tweet that Trayvon Diggs sent once the announcement was made that Carson Wentz has been traded to the Commanders? He sent a smiley face, like, he about to get him a couple picks. But I want to piggyback off what Woody said when you talked about the Seahawks and disrespect. Yes, the Seahawks got a large overhaul of picks. And if you're rebuilding, you want those picks. But I have never, and fellas, let me know if I'm overlooking something. Never in my timeline of life have I seen a team trade a franchise quarterback for an unknown future. Right? It's one thing if you trade it and you because you got this hot, this guy with this cannon arm on a bench who you're like, you know what, we can start him and we can trade this guy and get more to build around him, right? But to just trade your franchise, Russell Wilson has one losing season in his career, and it was last year when he got injured and played the rest of the season with a not fully healed finger, right, on his throwing hand. One losing season. Now, I get you need to build your team, but you're going to go out there with Drew Lock, and you have picks, but what quarterback are you going to get with those picks? I mean, are you counting on the kid from Alabama? What if he gets injured next year, right? And what if he can't come out for 2 years? What are you going to do? To me, the Seahawks just made a big-time mistake. And, they got picks, but I guess we're going to have to see what they do with them. But if you don't have a franchise quarterback, you don't have a chance. Like those Baltimore Ravens teams that won with Trent Dilfer, that's not happening again in today's NFL, where it's harder for the defense.
It's funny you said, like, what are they going to do with their picks? Because as we all know, the Seahawks shipped off 2 first-rounders for Jamal Adams, bro. So, like, you can't really trust what that front office is about to do. I know I see you, Woody. I see you, bro. But I don't know. Like, I guess this is a topic that I just bounced around. I saw it on Twitter, of course. But apparently there's rumors that they may go for Deshaun Watson. Oh, yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, Deshaun Watson. What's your thoughts on that? For me, what doesn't make sense is why didn't you just go straight to the jugular? And if you really wanted Deshaun Watson, why didn't you just do a quarterback swap, right? And I think I know the answer to that because Russ had a no trade clause. One of the rare contracts had a no trade clause. So Russ was real quick. Backpedal. So apparently the Seahawks were engaging with the Washington Commanders. It's so weird to say that, Washington Commanders. Yeah, it's so weird, bro. That's my first time saying that out loud. I've been texting about it. But you damn know for sure that Russ doesn't want to go to Washington, D.C., so went to the Broncos. So I don't know. Like, what y'all thoughts on
Doesn't Deshaun also have a no trade clause? I think he's in control of where he gets traded also.
He does. He does.
And the Seahawks have to be on some, I don't know what type of, illegal substances they have in Seattle, but they got to be on every single one of them if they think Deshaun is going to be like, yeah, you know what, I'll go there. They got nothing right now.
Now hold on. Their line is not great, but I mean, you have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Noah. See, now you have Noah Fant, right? Like, that's a decent receiving core. Chris Carson out there in the backfield, if he's healthy. I don't know if his legs work.
Rashad Penny,
who's on defense?
Like, is that? I feel like that's a decent lineup.
For me, I think that's enticing enough for Deshaun. Just wants out of Houston, right? He wants a fresh start.
That's what I'm saying.
And for him to even go to another division, right? I'm sorry, another conference, going to NFC, like going up Pacific North is completely a different like turnaround, fresh slate. And to Woody's point, he does have weapons. Like he has some offensive weapons. I think for Deshaun, he just wants to start fresh. Yeah,
that's true.
Let's be real though. We know Pete Carroll's gonna want to run the ball 40 times now, so it doesn't matter who his quarterback is.
He's gonna have Deshaun running it.
You know what? He's gonna have to go trade for like Taysom Hill or something. Just
oh my, he's salivating.
We still don't know when Deshaun is going to be available because as soon as he gets ready to play, Roger Goodell is going to be like, hold up now. We got to figure out this. You violated the shield, the code of conduct, right? And like, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just a mess. I feel like the Seahawks, something must have happened inside. Like there had to, and I don't think this story is out there, but I'm just speculating. Something had to happen inside because last year, obviously, there was some dysfunction. They start putting Russell Wilson's name in rumors. So Russell Wilson said, oh, you're going to put me in rumors? I'll tell you where I want to go. He came out and he named his destinations. Nobody does that. It's like a scene out of NBA 2K, right? He named where he wanted to go. And then he said, I'm all in. I'm here. Like, I'm not going to be traded. I'm here. Played this year and they traded him, right? So I think something had to go wrong because it just seems like this trade was a little bit emotional and irresponsible to me because you got weapons, but who's passing to those weapons now? Drew Lock? Drew Lock just had weapons. He just had weapons. He's got the same weapons that we're saying Russ is going to cook with, right? He just had those guys. He did nothing with them. So now he's with Russ's weapons, who weren't as good as Denver's weapons. Well, what is Drew Lock going to do? What is he going to do? I just don't get it, right? You don't have control over, all right, if you draft Willis, he's a rookie. We don't know what he's going to bring. But I get it. If you get him, okay, and if it works, it works. But then what if you don't get a quarterback in this draft? And what are you going to do next year? What if you don't get Deshaun? What if this, it's irresponsible, it's ridiculous. In Seattle, you deserve all the smoke that's coming to you.
I think it's more so that they know they can't compete now against the Niners, against the reigning Super Bowl champs, right? So when is a good time to rebuild? Probably right now, right? Because that conference is not getting, that division is not getting any easier, right? With Kyler, I know we're putting down Kyler, but that's still a scary team for the first half of the season. But that's a scary team at first. So I think for me, I think it's just like the Seahawks are like, hey, this is if we're gonna rebuild, and while we have trade value for this franchise, well, it's funny to say franchise is 33, but with this elite future Hall of Famer, I think Russ is a future Hall of Famer. Now's the time to do it. It's almost like that Dame situation. Let's use Dame as an example, right? Like, what are we doing with the Blazers, right? Like, Dame's 31, right? Do we just ship him off and say, hey, is our roster built to compete now, to win a championship now? To be honest, no, right? The Blazers roster is not right now. Same thing with the Seahawks. Is their roster ready to compete now, right? So it's one of those, like, we're talking about chipping off Dame. Seahawks kind of made that decision.
Good call.
Great point.
Yeah, fire.
Yep. Yeah.
I will say, since we're all somber right now, I'm gonna continue off that somber mood.
Batman to the rescue.
You saw the bat signal right now. No, I gotta feel for this one guy who, he wanted to be a head coach, right? He finally flapped his wings. He got cold feet the first time, and now he's back out there. He wants to be a head coach. The team that he's joining just made it. They just made it to the playoffs, and he's like, all right, yeah, I'm the new head coach of the Vegas Raiders. Okay, we just made the playoffs. We about to go there again. Oh, wait, Russell. Wait. He went what? Now that division, poor Josh McDaniels. Oh my gosh, every QB in that division is just going to be torching those boys up. Torching those boys up, man. So I don't know.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels known to run back home, man. He might back out. He did it once.
That was Belichick's plan, right? He's like, listen, we'll let him go fail again, and then we'll take you. Come on back, be our offensive coordinator again. Let's go.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, Rain, Don, it was an absolute fire episode, man. We thank you guys. The Dual Podcast representing, coming on the Side to Side Sportscast. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you follow the Dual Podcast. Fellas, state those socials.
Go ahead, Rain.
Go ahead, Don.
Rain always closes us out, man. Come on, you always close us out, bro.
All right, you can find us at the Dual Podcast on Instagram, on Twitter, also our website. We're gonna have a new blog coming out this week, so be on the lookout for that. But yes, at the Dual Podcast, all socials, and come let us know, man. Come hit us up. Let us know what y'all want to hear. If y'all want us to be on side to side again, let us know. We'll come on again. If you want us to have them come on again, we'll have y'all come on too. So
hey, for real though, and we gotta get. First and foremost, we appreciate the hospitality, bro. I had so much fun this episode. It was so dope meeting both of y'all, because I already met Woody. But we gotta get you all three on the pod episode sooner rather than later, because I had too much fun, man. Hey,
say word, say when. We in.
You ever need to talk? You ever need a passionate guy on the Celtics?
My sister is a Celtics fan, diehard Celtics. Right. My sister and brother-in-law, which they met in Michigan, so random, and they're both diehard Celtics fans. It's the most random thing ever.
Station, baby.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but I really appreciate it, y'all, and excited to continue to collab.
Hey, we appreciate it, man, and we are absolutely down to come on the Duel and hold it down. And next time we bring you on, man, we got to do some wings and things. I think that's going to be a fire. We got to do wings and things, and we'll talk more about that offline. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, we want you to come through on the Sportscast and call it how you see it, call it how you saw it. Call out those who didn't see it how you saw it. Represent what you think about what's going down in the sports world today, and hold it down with the crew. Until then, we out.